The Alabama Department of Industrial Relations presents Alabama 2000, Changes and Challenges.
As a lifelong citizen of Alabama, I know how much Alabamians value the work ethic. We all have a strong determination to grow and prosper. We're proud of our achievements, and we will continue to work hard to ensure we have a better world for our children and our children's children. Information from the Alabama Department of Industrial Relations and the U.S. Department of Labor tells us what the workforce will be like in the year 2000. This is important to us because in order to take action designed to protect our state's future, we need to know the facts now. We face a challenge with an economy and a population that is continually changing.
Alabama's children, our most valuable resource, the workforce of the future. Who are these children? What jobs will be available for them in the year 2000? Will they have the skills needed to assume productive jobs? Will there be training to prepare them to be valuable, contributing Alabama citizens? As adults, we have a responsibility toward their development because these children are Alabama's future. When these children become adults, they will face a labor market requiring skills never before needed to secure rewarding employment in Alabama. The changes shaping our economy and society are powerful. They represent the onset of a long-term trend toward a new, much more technical job mix. In contrast, the job market faced in the 1950s required fewer skills and much less education and training. There were many agricultural, factory, construction, and services jobs available, which did not require workers to be able to read well or have high levels of math and reasoning skills. Individuals who had very little or no formal education were quite capable of working in many occupations and making solid contributions to the state's economy. As we see here, jobs requiring little formal education will still be available in the year 2000. But their numbers will be decreased considerably, and many of these jobs that remain will require levels of education far exceeding that which has historically been required in these professions.
When you look at how we got to where we are in Alabama, or in fact, anywhere in the nation, there are two things that are perfectly obvious. First, wealth has been created, primarily through the utilization of natural resources. Second, wealth has been created through hard physical labor. But the future is a whole new ball game. At the Alabama Department of Post-Secondary Education, we've gone from no computers to complete computerization in just the past 2 years. And the next 5 to 10 years, even the shade tree mechanic will have to be a computer whiz.
At Huntsville, engineers, scientists, and their NASA colleagues who built the rocket for America's first astronaut see an exciting future indeed. The colonization of space, superior medicine, and materials created in the absence of the effect of gravity. 2 hours to China on a space vehicle, and perhaps a landing on Mars. But they fear that many of the great promises of technology will not be realized unless we all come to grips with some basic problems.
The future of the space program, as well as the future of America, depends primarily on how well we meet these challenges we face in education. Technology is advancing so rapidly that we may not have enough students with a background in mathematics and science to go around. NASA needs these students, obviously. But the demand is beginning to cut across all industrial lines.
Not only are jobs and required skill levels changing, but the available workforce is also undergoing continual change. Alabama's population is expected to grow at a much slower rate between now and the year 2000 than it did during the previous 15 years. From 1970 to 1985, Alabama's population increased 16.6%. In contrast, our population will increase only about 6.3% between now and the year 2000. Not only will our population be growing at a slower rate, it is anticipated that the number of 15 to 24-year-olds will also be markedly declining. There were 675,000 of this vital age group in Alabama in 1985, and it is anticipated that there will only be 603,000 by the end of the century. This 11% decrease will lower the number of young people entering the labor market considerably and will contribute to an older workforce. Also contributing to an older workforce will be the aging of the post-World War II baby boom population. For decades, our economy has accommodated the baby boomers, convincing society that there were too few jobs, too few schools, too few hospitals, and too few promotions to go around. As these middle-aged baby boomers become older workers by the year 2000, they will own homes, have older children, and they will have settled into their communities and working environments. These workers will tend to be less flexible and more reluctant to relocate or change occupations. However, the shift in Alabama's industrial composition is expected to create a need for a retrained, more flexible workforce in order for the state to be competitive in the national and international economy.
Another change in the composition of the workforce in the year 2000 will be a shift to a substantially higher proportion of non-whites on the job. As minorities achieve this larger share of the workforce, the need for education and training will become more and more crucial. This increased number of blacks entering the workforce, coupled with the industry's demand for higher skill levels, could cause a significant portion of Alabama's workforce to be unemployed, underemployed, or unemployable, unless corrective measures are taken today. This could measurably affect the industrial expansion in Alabama between now and the year 2000.
It is projected that approximately 287,000 new jobs will be added to our state's economy during the next decade. While this represents a 17% growth in available jobs overall, these new jobs will reflect a 27% increase in professional and technical fields.
During the past decade, workers in nearly every occupation have had to learn to use new computerized equipment. Today's workers, and those to come, must update and adapt their skills to keep up with changing technology. We need not only to be literate, we need to be computer literate. I believe that business will have to become more involved and committed in the educational process in order to balance the supply and demand of a skilled workforce.
Alabama businesses are already undergoing changes. In the coming years, goods-producing industries will experience a 10% growth. However, when we break this category down, we see that manufacturing jobs will grow by 20%, while those in agriculture will actually decline by 32%. The greatest expansion will be in service-producing industries. Employment in the services sector will be up 23% and will account for 8 out of every 10 new jobs in Alabama. This growth in service industries will represent an estimated 230,000 of the total 287,000 new jobs in Alabama. In the past, large population gains fueled our economy, but now, Alabama's decline in population growth rate is contributing to our shift from a goods-producing economy to a service-producing economy. This will cause businesses to concentrate on capturing a larger share of each individual's income rather than on being able to sell to a growing number of households. This trend will promote growth in such areas as restaurants, tourism, and the rapidly changing field of healthcare.
In fact, some of the fastest growing occupations will be in the area of healthcare. Healthcare jobs alone will increase by 29%, making this an exciting time to consider health-related professions. Technological advances in the health sciences are creating numerous career opportunities, such as biomedical equipment technician, radiographer, and respiratory therapist, to name a few. Unfortunately, most of these fields are fields that are not highly visible. Thus, all too often, they simply do not attract the attention of young students at the time these students need to be preparing themselves by taking basic courses in science and mathematics. Another extenuating problem is the small number of minorities entering health-related fields. There is a strong need for role models in the industry with which minorities can identify. Left unchecked, the problems facing health education seem destined to plague the healthcare system far into the 21st century. However, the quality of healthcare education in Alabama is excellent. In fact, the largest allied health school in the country is at the University of Alabama at Birmingham.
In addition to tremendous expansion in healthcare fields, there will be significant demand for many other types of employees in the service industry. These include cashiers, general managers, executives, office clerks, truck drivers, janitors, guards, even cooks and maids, to name a few. However, we must not assume that the traditional low-skilled jobs will remain so in the decade ahead. Many of these fast-growing occupations will require substantially elevated degrees of math, language, and reasoning skills. Employers will be modernizing and updating operations to improve productivity. They will be seeking workers who can read training manuals and understand directions, speak and think clearly, and perform simple calculations. What all this information adds up to is the fact that employers will be faced with a serious demand-supply mismatch between unfilled jobs and available workers. On the demand side, Alabama will have plenty of jobs available in the year 2000. However, these jobs will require suitable education and training. On the supply side, Alabama will have plenty of workers available in the year 2000. However, these workers may not have the required education and training. By the turn of the century, the pool of young people normally recruited for entry-level jobs will shrink. Growth of the prime working age population is expected to be less than the number of new jobs created, and the decline in farming and agribusiness will result in retraining needs to support service-producing jobs. Unless reconstructive measures are taken immediately, some very undesirable results will occur because the education and skill level of a large portion of the population will be insufficient to produce a strong workforce. In the year 2000, there'll be about 2 million jobs for the people of Alabama. Alabama's economy is changing. These changes represent a challenge to all Alabamians. How we respond to these changes is up to us. The future of Alabama is now, and the direction we take is our choice.
The information we have just seen and heard is the best information available for making decisions and initiating new plans in a changing economy. Fortunately, there is time to act, but we must act decisively. I'm convinced that when businesses come looking for new locations, they look for an educated and adaptable workforce. It does not matter how many good businesses and big industries we have in our state to employ our people if our people are unemployable. Historically, our great natural resources such as land, coal, and iron ore, abundant water, and beautiful beaches will always be important to us. But our number one resource is the one that's growing up every day on our school grounds all over Alabama. Traveling first class into the 21st century represents a challenge for all Alabamians.